So we are really fortunate to have one of our clients, Vicki Halik, with us today, who has kindly given up some of her time just to have a chat about her experience with own home loans, with own financial planning. Vicki, thank you so much for making some time available.
That's a pleasure. A real pleasure, Rory.
Thank you. Vicki, can you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself? Just, age, rank, serial number, that sort of stuff, Vicki.
Okay. Not sure what kind of detail you want, but I suppose what's relevant is I guess I've been in and out of the property market over my lifetime. I have used an advocate before in the past, and actually many years ago, and had a really good experience a couple of times. So I was sort of already felt like positively inclined. I think I'm trying to remember how I actually got on to you. Was it through? Oh, it was actually through my advocate.
Yeah.
So I went from my advocate, and then I'd never had a broker before.
Sure.
No, I'm pretty sure I haven't. I'd heard about brokers. Everyone warned me off everything. Like, people said, don't use an advocate. Why are you spending the money on that? Why using a broker? Why using an advisor? Oh my God, I had so much opposition. Oh yeah, I had a lot of opposition. There just seems to be people are like, you can do that yourself. It's a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. Well, anyway, I can tell you it's actually been a really positive experience for me. And I'm fairly experienced with, like, I've had an advocate before. I have had an advisor way back in the past for a bit. And that was a kind of okay experience, but not as nothing like what I've just experienced now with own financial planning at Dylan Dane. So I'm really happy to speak to you because I'm actually quite passionate about it and actually put other people onto it. And I get quite fired up actually when people say this normal kind of negative stuff.
Right. Well, tell me more about that.
So I guess what happened was, I was looking for a house a bit unexpectedly, as life happens, just in the middle of COVID, like 2020, 2021. And, it was a very stressful time. You go to inspections and there'd be 100 people at an inspection. I know my daughter cried. You would go to an inspection. We just felt like we would never find a place. And to me, it was sort of a bit of a no-brainer to because I'd worked with an advocate in the past, and I thought this is way too hard. He got us an amazing bargain. Actually, he kind of did a deal with an agent. I didn't even know you could do these sorts of things. Who had a listing of people who were wanting to sell. I think it was, and he was fabulous. Who was it? Peter Fox. He was just so patient, understanding how stressful the process was, and very open. And I did some really crazy things. Like, I actually withdrew. I got cold feet in the last minute. I withdrew. I tried to withdraw just after signing the contract. I mean, it was a very stressful time, and he was fabulous in managing all that. I was very impressed with him. Anyway, so that gave me the confidence. And then he said, well, he introduced me to you, and that's been a really good experience as well. And I feel like I've just gone, all the three of you have been like my team.
Great.
And very similar in some way.
And I think we hear that a lot. It's really about the team, and it's about who you put together to help you through these major life milestones. So, and I know from my perspective, I was a great client. I was really rapt to be able to help you secure the loan to get the property, and that's we take a lot of pride in that. And then with how we've set up and having own financial planning and other areas of the business, it's nice to be able to give people more, to go that little bit further and have that bit more depth. So before you caught up with Dane and Adil, what were you hoping to achieve? What did you have in your mind? What you're hoping to achieve, and what did you expect from that first interaction?
Okay, so what I expected was probably based on my past experience, and my past experience was with an advisor he was actually very kind. He was a really he kind of went above and beyond a bit. He was very generous with his time. He would talk you through things. However, there was a kind of a limit to, I don't know. I feel like Adil and Dane have gone way beyond what I've ever experienced before. In a funny way, they've provided what I couldn't have even imagined
Great.
before. So my expectations were reasonable. Like I expected someone who was going to be on top of things, who would give me good advice. But they've been really attuned to so many different aspects. And I guess as a psychologist, what I've been really impressed with is how incredibly attuned they are to the broader issues. Because, of course, as they say, and I know, money is connected with everything, relationships,
Sure.
emotional stuff. Everyone brings all this baggage to it. And they have really, I think, actually changed my life. Like I am a lot more calmer around money now, because I think of the experiences. I also, just as an example of, at the same time that I secured my home loan, a colleague of mine bought a business property a month before the massive interest rate rises. And she still talks about it now, that her bank advised her not to fix the cost and not to fix her interest rate. And she has just been blown out of the water. Like the amount of interest she's paying is just out of
Crazy.
the world. It's really crazy, and I felt so grateful because at the same time I was aware that you had sort of helped me craft, structure the loan in a way that really understood my circumstances. I think that's the thing that really comes across to me about both you and Adil and Dane, is that you don't do a kind of a one size fits all. It's not just about the figures. It's actually about what's my lifestyle, who am I as a person, what's my kind of my risk tolerance, both situationally and psychologically. And so I feel very heard. I feel very kind of like it's a bit like a family member who goes, look, I know what you're like, Vicki, and this is, you could do this, but we're sort of suggesting this, knowing, especially with Adil, I guess, because I've been working with him now quite
Great.
closely for some
Oh,
time.
well. I could almost stop the video now, and that was just so nice to hear. We, as I said, we take great pride in what we do, and to have, that said back to us is amazing. So that is really touching. So thank you. But I won't stop there. Vicki. I'll keep going. But I could have, but I won't.
I've got more to say.
Good. I want to hear it. Excellent.
I'm appreciation bombing you.
That's fair.
But no, I think the thing that I've wrote down a couple of things because I just didn't want to, I wanted to get my thoughts together.
This is exactly what I want. Yeah,
I mean,
great.
The other thing that I was really kind of impressed with was how proactive you are. Like, the fact that you negotiated a lower rate with the bank. I mean, it just frees me to do other stuff and feel absolute peace of mind that somebody is actually working on my stuff. Actually, the contrast of that is my mother has an advisor at the moment, and we just constantly say, is that advisor have any idea what she's going through at the moment? She's actually elderly now, she's 95, but we're really worried because he doesn't seem to be, there's no conversation with her, there's no checking in at all. And so that's an example of someone who is just saying, thank you very much, we'll take a card, but they're not working. You don't feel their presence. Whereas I feel like with you, you keep checking in with me.
Sure.
Keep saying, okay, we're at the 6-month mark, we're at the 12-month mark. And I mean, I don't keep stuff like that in my head. I'm too busy running my other business.
Sure, indeed.
And
I think you touched on it earlier, when people say, and you got the advice not to get advice, not to seek out advisors for things. And you can't blame someone because they don't have a great experience with a mortgage broker, a financial planner, a property person. So it's great that you've found your team, which is amazing.
Yeah, I think so. And I just, I think I would say to people, I've actually recommended you guys for, certainly the planning, the mortgage broking hasn't sort of come up, but certainly with the financial advice, whenever I hear people are struggling, I just sort of, it's a bit like, when I suppose people have different philosophies on this, but it's like, when you're having arguments with your partner about who cleans the bathroom, get a cleaner. Like, just take that
Sure.
out, that
Just get it
conflict out
done.
of your
Yeah.
relationship. And the amount of conflict I see, because I see people obviously in my practice, and a lot of their conflicts are around money,
Yeah, sure.
around money decisions,
Oh,
about, and if
we
you
see it all the time.
can outsource that to people who
Mm.
actually get more than the money, it's and I've
It's
seen this over and over again, where people will say, well, you should do this, but they're not actually factoring in, they don't get a broader picture, a context of what is that person's life. And one bit of advice for one couple or one family might be totally different from another. Um,
absolutely. Absolutely. So it has to be, for lack of a better term, bespoke and absolutely geared towards the individual. For us to get
yeah,
the right results, it has to be. If you try and do this sort of stuff, especially what Dane and Adil do as a cookie cutter, it's just not going to
yeah,
work. So,
yeah,
you're
absolutely.
absolutely. So have there been some specific sort of financial milestones that you wanted to hit and you're on your way to, or you've hit them? You don't have to go into absolute detail if you don't want to, but
Yeah,
there's
no,
been some stuff that you've been ticking off. Going, oh, cool! I didn't think I'd get there, but now I'm there. I'm almost
yeah,
there. You can see the light.
yeah, absolutely. So I guess what I've said to people too is that, because people were horrified at, oh, you're going to spend this money on an advisor. Well, I have to say that I have saved more money in the last probably 8 months than I've saved in the last 20 years.
There you
You
go.
know,
Amazing.
I,
Amazing.
they have turned around my savings ability to
Yeah, sure.
save. And I think part of it, I've thought about it a lot. I think part of it is, um, it's a lot of things, but I think it's partly that I've calmed down a lot around money. I'm not anxious about it. I feel like the conversations are so reassuring, but in a way that's also flexible. Like, we can't forecast the future, but I feel like, um, you know, they really consider a lot of different aspects. I mean, I've even had advice from, Adil about how to talk to my daughter about money, not to get
Good.
into some of the intergenerational conflicts that, I know
Yeah,
that I've had in my family around money, which a lot of people have.
absolutely. Sure. It happens
Yeah.
all the time. Have you done that? Have you spoken with your daughter about money since?
Oh, it's turned it around. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
great.
actually changed our relationship, because
Amazing.
one of the things that I always got really anxious when we talked about money, and all the little, even the relation, the decisions about, should I charge her board? She's 21, is that right? Is it wrong? Everyone will give you different advice.
Mm.
And it's interesting, because I think what Adil's able to do is to understand what's important in relationships and around money, and to help you get a sense of perspective. It's sort of like a really sensible kind of dad, who just
Yeah.
can't,
Good.
it's like a wisdom, really. But
You
I
should
think it's
change
also,
his. It will change his title to Sensible Dad. That's great. I'm sure he'd love it. Sorry, I shouldn't have cut you off.
no, no, not at all. I love it. But yeah, and I think, but I'd also say, because some people have said to me, oh, look, I think I'm basically on track. I just want a little bit, I probably wanted more. And the other thing that's been lovely with Adil is that, I mean, he's just been so generous with his time. Nothing is too stupid a question. He will go
Sure.
into as much detail as I
Great.
want. But I also sense that he's also very respectful of what people want.
Yep.
So if someone wants something a little bit more minimal, like they just want, this or that, he really listens. And as a
Sure.
professional listener, I know
Yeah.
I'm talking a lot today, but I mean,
No, no,
as
no.
a
But we've asked you
professional,
to, so this is
um,
perfect.
that's probably because I don't get to talk, most of my sessions. He really does listen. And I
Yeah.
know that when he's had, I think, a session with someone I know, and she said to me, wow, he really spoke to, she was having trouble getting her husband on board with something. And he was so kind of sensitive in the way that he was able to pitch things to him as well, get him on board, get his
Brilliant.
trust, that his needs, his perspective was being listened to. So I reckon he's a
Amazing.
relationship counsellor or roll
Yeah,
into one.
good. Outstanding. Excellent. Vicky, you have been really generous with your time, and you've covered off so much, and this is just beautiful music to our ears, obviously. Is there anything else you wanted to sort of add before we wrap up?
Is there anything else that you can ask me that would draw anything
Oh,
else?
look, everything that I had possibly or could have asked, you've so nicely covered off in what you've said. For us, it's about, everyone having a great experience, and that's come through in bucket loads from what you've spoken about. So thank you so much for your time, Vicki. We love having you as a client, and the best is yet to come. We know we'll keep getting you to a better and better financial position all the time. And you being able to help your daughter on her journey is just beautiful icing on the cake. That's great.
Yeah. No, I look forward to the I just wish the only thing I really wish is that I'd found you guys earlier in my life, because my life would be completely different. So thank you again.
That's lovely, kind words. Thanks so much, Vicki. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye for
Thanks.
now.